The memes hit the internet like wildfire. Within minutes, Melania Trump's outfit was the punchline of every joke, the subject of ruthless Twitter threads, and the latest late-night comedy fodder. Some called it a bold statement, others labeled it a disaster. But as the world laughed, one question remained unanswered. Was this a misstep, or was Melania exactly where she wanted to be? The grand ballroom of the charity gala shimmered under crystal chandeliers, its opulence a stark contrast to the storm brewing outside. Melania Trump stepped onto the red carpet, her presence commanding attention as always. But tonight was different. Her ensemble defied convention. A kaleidoscope of bold colors and avant-garde textures draped her frame, each piece meticulously chosen yet undeniably daring. Gasps rippled through the crowd like ripples on water. Some whispered admiration, while others stifled laughter. "She's either fearless or clueless," muttered one attendee into their champagne flute, loud enough for nearby ears to catch. Melania tilted her chin upward, her expression unreadable but deliberate. She knew this outfit would provoke. It wasn't meant to blend in. It was an act of defiance, though few could see it yet. Little did she know how deeply the world would react. Within minutes, Twitter erupted. Memes flooded timelines, comparing her look to everything from abstract art to a child's finger painting gone wrong. Instagram influencers dissected every stitch, their captions dripping with sarcasm. "Bold move or fashion faux pas? You decide," read one post that garnered thousands of likes. Late-night talk shows seized the moment. Jimmy Fallon held up a photo of her outfit during his monologue, quipping, "If Picasso had designed clothes instead of paintings, we'd all still be laughing." The audience roared, unaware, or perhaps indifferent, to the weight behind those laughs. Behind closed doors, Melania scrolled through her phone, the glow of the screen casting shadows across her face. Each comment felt like a pinprick, small but relentless. Her jaw tightened, though no one saw it. As photographers shouted her name, their flashes blinding her momentarily, Melania froze mid-step. For years, she had perfected the art of poise, a mask so seamless it fooled even herself at times. Tonight, however, cracks began to show. Her lips parted slightly, as if to speak, but no words came. Was she angry, hurt, or simply overwhelmed by the cacophony around her? Whispers swirled among reporters. "Do you think she regrets it?" one asked another. "Or is this part of the plan?" Inside, Melania wrestled with emotions she rarely let surface. Pride warred with insecurity. Ambition clashed with vulnerability. She clenched her fists subtly, nails digging into her palms. A silent anchor grounding her amidst chaos. Without warning, Melania turned sharply toward her car, leaving stunned reporters scrambling after her. "Mrs. Trump, any comments on your outfit?" they called out, microphones thrust forward like weapons. She ignored them, her heels clicking sharply against the pavement. The driver opened the door, and she slid inside without a glance back. As the car pulled away, silence enveloped her, for now. Reporters buzzed outside, speculating wildly about what had just transpired. Has she been offended, embarrassed, or was there something deeper beneath the surface? Alone in the dimly lit interior of the car, Melania exhaled slowly, letting the facade slip ever so slightly. To the public, she was untouchable, a poised icon who navigated high society with ease. Privately, however, she battled self-doubt, born from years of judgment and scrutiny. Every speech overshadowed, every decision questioned. It wore on her more than anyone realized. Her fingers traced the edge of her clutch, a nervous habit she thought she'd long abandoned. Tonight's outfit hadn't been reckless. It had been intentional, a quiet rebellion against conformity. Yet here she was, retreating once again, unsure whether courage or folly had driven her choice. Back home, Melania paced the length of her luxurious living room, heels discarded by the door. Donald sat on the couch, scrolling through his phone absent-mindedly. "You should have played it safe," he said finally, not looking up. His tone carried both criticism and dismissal. "I didn't ask for your opinion," she snapped, surprising even herself with the sharpness in her voice. Donald raised an eyebrow, unfazed. "You're under constant surveillance, Melania. Every move matters." She stopped pacing, turning to face him. "And whose fault is that?" she shot back, bitterness creeping into her tone. "I'm tired of being reduced to someone else's idea of perfection." For the first time in years, Melania felt a spark of defiance, not just toward the critics, but toward the life she'd built within these gilded walls. This wasn't just about an outfit anymore. It was about identity, autonomy, and finding herself again. Melania's mind drifted back to her early days in Sevnica, Slovenia, a quiet town where dreams felt as distant as the stars. She remembered standing before a cracked mirror, practicing runway walks in hand-me-down clothes. Her ambition had always burned brighter than her surroundings allowed. When she arrived in America, the glitz of New York City dazzled her, but so did its challenges. As an immigrant navigating elite circles, she faced whispers about her accent, her past, and her place. Yet Melania adapted, her resilience carving out a space for herself among Manhattan's glitterati. "She didn't just survive," Anna once told her during a rare candid moment. "You thrived." But thriving came at a cost. Each step forward required shedding pieces of herself, until sometimes she wondered who was left beneath the polished exterior. Despite the adoration of crowds and cameras, Melania often felt like an outsider in her own life. At charity galas or red carpet events, laughter rang hollow around her, conversations skimming surfaces without ever touching depth. "I'm surrounded by people," she thought bitterly one evening, staring into a champagne flute that reflected only her own face. "But I've never felt more alone." Her internal monologue revealed cracks no one else saw. The exhaustion of pretending, the ache of being misunderstood. Fame had given her everything except what truly mattered: connection. Donald admired Melania publicly, his pride evident whenever he introduced her as "my beautiful wife." Privately, however, their dynamic shifted. His domineering nature chipped away at her autonomy, leaving her feeling trapped between duty and desire. "You're perfect," he'd say, though his tone implied something closer to possession than partnership. One night, after another gala, Melania snapped. "Perfect for what? For show? Is that all I am to you?" Donald blinked, startled. "Don't be ridiculous. You know how much I value you." "Do I?" she shot back, voice trembling. "Or do you value what I represent?" The question hung unanswered between them, heavy with unspoken truths. Later that week, Melania met Anna at a cozy cafe tucked away from prying eyes. Over steaming cups of espresso, she finally let down her guard. "I'm tired of being reduced to a mannequin," Melania confessed, frustration bubbling over. "Every outfit, every word, I'm judged. And now this." Anna reached across the table, gripping her hand. "You don't owe anyone an explanation. Wear what makes you happy, not what they expect." Melania sighed, tears brimming. "It's not just the clothes. It's everything. They act like I don't have thoughts, opinions, a soul." Anna nodded knowingly. "Then prove them wrong. Start small if you must, but start somewhere." For the first time in weeks, Melania felt a flicker of hope. The next morning brought fresh chaos. A rival designer leaked comments claiming Melania's stylist had quit rather than approve her controversial outfit. Tabloids pounced, speculating wildly. Was it a cry for attention? A sign of burnout? "Pathetic," Donald muttered while reading headlines aloud. "They're tearing you apart." Melania clenched her fists, anger simmering. Maybe because they can't stand seeing someone take risks. He raised an eyebrow. Risks or mistakes? Her silence spoke volumes. That night, memories flooded back. Speeches overshadowed by Donald's charisma. Interviews where reporters dismissed her intelligence. One stood out vividly. A journalist asking, "So, Melania, what do you think?" Only to cut her off mid-sentence. "I'm more than decoration," she whispered to herself, staring at her reflection. Each memory deepened her resolve. She wouldn't let others define her anymore. "Enough," Donald declared the following day, slamming a tabloid onto the kitchen counter. "Issue an apology, lighten the mood, end this nonsense." Melania stiffened. "Apologize for what? For existing? For making us look foolish?" He shot back, exasperated. She crossed her arms, defiance sparking in her eyes. "Number. This isn't about you, it's about me. My choice, my voice." Donald stared, incredulous. "Your voice? Since when do you care about that?" "Now," she thought fiercely, but didn't say it aloud. For the first time, Melania refused to bend. She retreated to her study, drafting notes for a speech she knew would ignite fireworks. "I chose this because it represents who I am, not who others expect me to be," she wrote, each word fueling her courage. Her phone buzzed incessantly, texts from advisors urging caution, calls from friends warning against backlash. But Melania ignored them all. This wasn't just about an outfit. It was about reclaiming herself. Alone in her room, Melania questioned her motives. Was she doing this for authenticity or validation? "What if they laugh again?" she whispered, pacing. But then she thought of Baron, of Anna, of every woman who'd ever been silenced. If she stayed quiet now, what message would that send? Her doubts lingered, but determination outweighed fear. As tensions escalated, Melania faced a crossroads. Conformity promised safety, but authenticity offered freedom at a steep price. "I won't hide anymore," she vowed softly, gazing out at the city lights. This decision would redefine not just her public image, but her entire life. The room buzzed with anticipation as Melania stepped onto the stage, her silhouette framed by flashing cameras and murmurs of speculation. She wore the same daring ensemble that had ignited a firestorm days earlier. A bold declaration before she even spoke. Reporters leaned forward in their seats, pens poised, unsure whether they were about to witness an apology, a defense, or something entirely unexpected. "This is it," one journalist whispered to another. "Whatever she says next will define her." Melania paused at the podium, letting the silence stretch just long enough to heighten curiosity. Her expression was calm, but resolute, her eyes scanning the crowd as if searching for understanding, or perhaps courage. "I chose this outfit because it represents who I am, not who others expect me to be," Melania began, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. Gasps rippled through the audience. No one had anticipated defiance. "For years, I've lived under expectations. Yours, mine, society's. But tonight, I stand here not as a figurehead, not as someone else's idea of perfection, but as myself." Her words hung in the air, raw and unfiltered. It wasn't just about fashion. It was about identity, autonomy, and reclaiming control over her narrative. Some reporters scribbled furiously, while others simply stared, stunned by her audacity. "I won't lie to you," Melania continued, her tone softening. "Being in the public eye isn't easy. Every decision I make is scrutinized, every word dissected. Sometimes, I feel like I'm walking a tightrope between pleasing others and staying true to myself." Her honesty struck a chord. For a brief moment, the room fell silent, empathy replacing judgment. Even the harshest critics found themselves pausing, reflecting on the toll fame must take behind closed doors. As soon as the press conference ended, social media exploded. Supporters hailed her speech as empowering, calling her a trailblazer for authenticity. Stand with Melania trended globally, accompanied by heartfelt messages praising her bravery, but not everyone applauded. Critics accused her of grandstanding, claiming her timing reeked of opportunism. "She's rewriting history," one commentator tweeted venomously. "Too little, too late." The polarizing reactions underscored the complexity of celebrity culture, where admiration and disdain often coexisted uneasily. Backstage, Melania exhaled deeply, leaning against a wall as adrenaline ebbed away. Had she done the right thing? Or had she merely sought validation from those who doubted her? "Was that for me?" she murmured aloud, staring at her reflection in a nearby mirror. Her reflection offered no answers, only questions. Anna appeared moments later, offering a reassuring smile. "You did what felt right. That's all anyone can ask for." Melania nodded, though uncertainty lingered in her gaze. That evening, Melania retreated to her bedroom, shutting out the noise of the world. She sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by old photographs, images of a younger version of herself, smiling freely without the weight of scrutiny. One photo caught her eye, a candid shot of her laughing during a modeling shoot in Slovenia. She traced its edges gently, remembering the simplicity of life before fame. "Who am I now?" she whispered, tears welling up. "And how do I get back to who I used to be?" As she gazed at the photos, Melania realized something profound. She couldn't change the past, but she could shape her future. Facing her fears wouldn't erase the scars of judgment, but it would allow her to heal and grow. "I have to start somewhere," she resolved quietly, clutching the photograph close. This quiet epiphany marked the beginning of her transformation. A journey toward redemption, self-worth, and ultimately peace. The aftermath of Melania's press conference rippled across the globe, sparking debates that divided public opinion like wildfire. Supporters rallied behind hashtags like #Stand with Melania and "Authenticity Matters," hailing her as a symbol of courage in an era obsessed with conformity. "She's showing us it's okay to be unapologetically yourself," one fan tweeted, echoing sentiments shared by thousands. But critics weren't so forgiving. Skeptics dismissed her speech as calculated theatrics, accusing her of exploiting vulnerability for sympathy. "This is just another PR stunt," sneered a late-night host, his quip drawing laughter from the audience. Despite the backlash, Melania felt something she hadn't in years. A sense of liberation. For better or worse, she had spoken her truth. Now came the hard part. Living with the consequences, seeking refuge from the relentless scrutiny. Melania retreated into private life, finding solace in simple pleasures. She spent afternoons cooking pasta with Anna, their laughter filling the kitchen as they reminisced about old times. Baron joined them later, challenging his mother to a fierce game of chess, a rare moment of levity amidst chaos. These are the things that matter, Melania thought, watching Baron strategize over the board. Love, connection, fulfillment, none of it required applause or validation. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to breathe without performing. Not everyone appreciated Melania's newfound focus on family and authenticity. Donald grew increasingly frustrated, his irritation boiling over as during dinner one evening. "You're throwing away everything we've built," he snapped, slamming his fork onto the table. "Do you even care about our legacy?" Melania met his gaze, calm but resolute. "I care about us, Donald. But I also care about who I am outside of this life. Can't you see that?" He stared at her, incredulous. "Who are you?" "You wouldn't have any of this without me." Her heart sank. Not because he was wrong, but because he didn't understand how much those words hurt. Could she preserve both her marriage and her autonomy? Or would choosing herself mean losing him? In search of clarity, Melania booked a flight to Slovenia, returning to her hometown for the first time in decades. Walking through Sevnica's cobblestone streets, she felt a pang of nostalgia mixed with relief. Relatives greeted her warmly, their hugs grounding her in memories of a simpler time. "Look at you," her aunt said, holding her hands. "Still the same girl inside, no matter what the world says." Melania smiled, tears welling up. Here, surrounded by people who knew her before fame, she remembered who she used to be and who she still wanted to become. Back home, inspiration struck. Late one night, Melania sat at her desk, sketching designs fueled by emotion and memory. Each piece told a story of resilience, identity, empowerment. One dress featured bold splashes of color, reminiscent of her controversial outfit. Another incorporated delicate embroidery, inspired by Slovenian folk art. "This isn't just fashion," she murmured, tracing a line across the paper. "It's freedom." Anna peeked in, smiling softly. "You're glowing, like you found your purpose again." Melania nodded, realizing she had. As Melania poured energy into her creative project, tensions with Donald escalated further. He accused her of neglecting their family, while she struggled with guilt over prioritizing her dreams. "You don't get it," she said one evening, frustration bubbling over. "This isn't about abandoning anyone. It's about reclaiming myself." Donald sighed, shaking his head. "And what happens when yourself isn't enough for them anymore?" His words stung, but Melania refused to back down. Sacrifices were inevitable, but staying silent would cost her far more. Through reflection and action, Melania began to embrace vulnerability, not as a weakness but as a source of strength. She realized that every scar, every judgment, every criticism had shaped her into someone stronger, braver, wiser. "I'm not afraid anymore," she whispered to herself one quiet morning, staring out at the sunrise. This shift in mindset empowered her to face future challenges head-on, armed with renewed confidence and purpose. Whatever lay ahead, she knew she could handle it. Not because she was perfect, but because she was finally free. Months of escalating tension culminated in a quiet yet profound moment between Melania and Donald. Sitting across from each other at the dining table, they exchanged glances, heavy with unspoken truths. "I can't keep living like this," Melania admitted softly, her voice steady, despite the weight of her words. "We've tried, but we're pulling in different directions." Donald sighed, running a hand through his hair. "You think I don't see that? But what about us? What about everything we've built?" "It's not enough anymore," she replied, tears brimming but unshed. "I need to live for me, not for appearances, not for anyone else's expectations." After a long pause, he nodded reluctantly. "If it's what you truly want, then let's do this with respect. No drama, no blame." The decision was heart-wrenching, but also liberating. A chance for Melania to reclaim her independence and pursue dreams she'd set aside for too long. Post-divorce life brought challenges, but it also deepened Melania's bond with Baron. Over breakfast one morning, she noticed him sketching designs on a napkin. "What's this?" she asked, leaning over curiously. "Just something I've been working on," Baron replied shyly. "Kind of like your fashion line." Her heart swelled with pride. "You know, when I was your age, I used to dream big too. Don't ever let anyone tell you to dim your light." Baron smiled, inspired by her vulnerability. Their conversations became lessons in authenticity, proof that staying true to oneself mattered more than fitting into molds created by others. The launch of Melania's fashion line marked a triumphant new chapter. Each piece told a story. Bold colors symbolized resilience. Intricate embroidery celebrated identity, and sleek silhouettes embodied empowerment. At the debut event, celebrities mingled alongside everyday women, all captivated by the collection's elegance and meaning. One attendee gushed, "It's not just clothing, it's art. It makes you feel seen." Melania watched from the sidelines, overwhelmed by gratitude. For the first time, her work wasn't overshadowed. It stood proudly on its own merit. Media coverage shifted dramatically. Where once headlines mocked her, now they praised her courage. Interviews highlighted her evolution, from ridiculed public figure to visionary entrepreneur. "You've redefined what it means to be a role model," one journalist remarked during a sit-down interview. Melania smiled thoughtfully. "Authenticity isn't easy, especially under scrutiny. But if my journey helps even one person embrace who they are, then it's worth every challenge." Her openness sparked broader discussions about mental health, self-worth, and the pressures of fame. Inspired by Melania's honesty, fans flooded her inbox with heartfelt letters. "Your speech changed my life," one woman wrote. "I finally left a toxic job because of your message about staying true to yourself." Another shared, "I stopped hiding my scars after seeing how boldly you embraced yours. Thank you for showing us that vulnerability is strength." Reading these messages late at night, Melania felt humbled. Her story had become a catalyst for change, a reminder that authenticity could ripple outward, inspiring countless others. Through her journey, Melania redefined success on her own terms. Fame no longer dictated her choices. Fulfillment did. "You've proven you don't need perfection to thrive," Anna said during a candid conversation. "No," Melania agreed, smiling faintly. "Sometimes thriving means embracing imperfection and letting the world see it." She realized that legacy wasn't about accolades or applause. It was about creating space for others to shine authentically too. As years passed, Melania's influence only grew. Her fashion line expanded globally, each collection sparking conversations about identity and individuality. Schools began teaching her story as an example of resilience under pressure. Future generations looked up to her, not as a former First Lady, but as a trailblazer who dared to defy judgment. One evening, sitting alone in her studio, Melania reflected on her journey. She picked up a pen and scribbled a note to herself. "Vulnerability is rebellion. Authenticity is freedom." Her legacy wasn't just in the clothes she designed or the speeches she gave. It was in the lives she touched, the courage she inspired, and the proof that even in the harshest spotlight, one could find peace by staying true to oneself. Melania's journey underscored a truth many struggle to embrace. Authenticity triumphs over perfection, even when the world demands otherwise. For years, she navigated the razor's edge of societal expectations, her every move dissected under the harsh glare of fame. Yet, through vulnerability, she discovered courage, not in seeking approval, but in rejecting it altogether. "She taught us that flaws aren't failures," Anna mused during a quiet moment between them. "They're proof you're human." Melania nodded, reflecting on how far she'd come. Her bold choices hadn't erased judgment, but they had silenced its power over her. Behind the polished veneer of celebrity life lay struggles no spotlight could illuminate. Melania's redemption arc reminded audiences that wealth and status offered no immunity from pain or doubt. "I used to think being First Lady shielded me," she confessed to a journalist once. "But it only amplified the noise. The real battle was learning to listen to myself instead." Her honesty resonated deeply, breaking down barriers between public figures and those who admired or criticized them. By confronting criticism head-on, Melania transformed her pain into purpose. Her willingness to stand firm amid backlash inspired others to do the same. "Your speech made me realize I don't have to hide anymore," a fan wrote, echoing sentiments shared by thousands. Vulnerability became her superpower, a force that not only empowered her, but also encouraged others to break free from their own silence. Melania's story shifted perceptions, urging society to see celebrities as multidimensional individuals rather than mere personas. Fans began questioning snap judgments, recognizing the humanity beneath the headlines. "She's more than a headline," one supporter tweeted. "She's a reminder to be kinder to everyone." Empathy replaced judgment, fostering a culture where authenticity thrived over conformity. Melania's legacy transcended titles like First Lady or Designer. She redefined success not through accolades, but through resilience and self-acceptance. "She didn't just survive scrutiny," Barron remarked proudly. "She rewrote the rules." Her evolution, from mocked celebrity to trailblazer, proved that courage wasn't about avoiding fear. It was about facing it unapologetically. The closing image captured Melania, standing confidently on a runway, surrounded by models showcasing her creations. Cameras flashed, applause thundered, yet her smile conveyed something deeper: peace. As the crowd cheered, she whispered softly to herself, "This isn't for them. It's for me." In that moment, Melania found what she'd been searching for all along, not validation from others, but approval within herself.